These floods didn't involve water. They involved beer, molasses, and even wine. Entire streets were swallowed. Homes destroyed, lives lost. And the strangest part? These disasters weren't natural. They were caused by things people drink. Beer flood. In 1814 in London, something unbelievable happened at the Moe and Company brewery. Inside the brewery stood enormous wooden vats, some over 20 feet tall, each held together by thick iron bands. One of these vats held over 135,000 gallons. That's enough to fill thousands of barrels. Then, one of the iron hoops snapped. At first, it didn't seem like a disaster, but the pressure inside the vat had been building for days, and within moments, it failed. The vat exploded. The force triggered a chain reaction, releasing over 320,000 gallons of beer into the surrounding streets. A wave of beer rushed through St. Giles, a densely populated, poor area of London. Basement homes filled almost instantly. People had no time to escape. At least 8 people were killed, many trapped beneath rubble or drowned in the flood. In one of the strangest details, some survivors reportedly tried to collect and drink the beer afterward. Molasses Flood, over 100 years later, in 1919, in Boston, an even deadlier version of this disaster took place. A huge steel tank held 2.3 million gallons of molasses. It was used to produce industrial alcohol. But the tank had problems. It leaked so badly that locals would collect dripping molasses in containers. Then, on a cold January afternoon, witnesses heard a deep rumble. And suddenly the tank burst. A massive wave of molasses surged through the streets at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. It was described as a wall of dark liquid several feet high. The force crushed buildings and snapped support beams. But what made it truly deadly was the texture. Molasses is thick, sticky, heavy. People became trapped, unable to move as it hardened around them. Rescue teams struggled, wading through waist-deep syrup to reach survivors. 21 people died and over 100 were injured. Wine flood. In 2023, in Snow Lourenço de Barro, a modern version of these disasters unfolded. At a distillery operated by Levira Distillery, 2 massive storage tanks suddenly failed. Together, they released an estimated 2.2 million liters of red wine, enough to fill an entire swimming pool many times over. The wine poured rapidly into the streets, forming a fast-moving river that flowed downhill through the town. Residents watched as roads were completely submerged in deep red liquid, cars surrounded by a flowing stream of wine. Their biggest concern wasn't just the flooding, it was environmental damage. If the wine reached nearby waterways, it could disrupt ecosystems. Crews worked to divert the flow away from a nearby river, preventing a much larger environmental incident. The cause followed a familiar pattern. Pressure buildup inside the tanks, combined with structural failure, from beer in London, to molasses in Boston, to wine in Portugal. These disasters show something unexpected. Even the most ordinary things can become dangerous when control is lost. Subscribe for more.